The trailer door that wouldn't open, the sun had already started its slow descent behind the Los Angeles hills when the set of their latest film fell silent. Extras had left, crew members were packing up, and the golden hour bathed everything in soft light. The day had ended early due to one unexpected event. Ana de Armas had locked herself in her trailer and refused to come out. At first, no one thought much of it. Maybe she needed space. Maybe she was just tired. But as minutes turned into an hour, and then another, whispers started. Assistants exchanged worried glances. The director paced nervously, his calls ignored. Her agent sent 3 unanswered texts, and through it all, Keanu Reeves stood near the trailer, arms crossed, a quiet look of concern on his face. He hadn't left. While others speculated or moved on, he stayed. He didn't knock again, didn't try to force the door open. He just sat down on the steps of her trailer, folding his jacket into a makeshift cushion, and waited. Most of the crew didn't even notice. Some assumed he had already gone home. But one intern, a young girl named Maya, who looked up to Keanu like a father figure, caught the quiet vigil. She offered him coffee, which he accepted with a grateful nod but barely sipped. "She's hurting," he said simply. "Sometimes you just need to know someone's still there when you're ready." Keanu had seen things like this before. He knew the signs. Dark eyes behind fake smiles, shaky hands even when the lines were flawless. Ana had given everything during filming lately. The fight scenes, the emotional scenes, the long hours. It was too much. And today, something had broken. Inside the trailer, Ana sat on the floor, back against the door, tears staining her face. She clutched a small photo in her hand, a picture of her younger self with her grandmother back in Cuba. Her grandmother had passed away just 2 days ago, but Ana hadn't told anyone, not even the director. She didn't want to derail production. She thought she could push through. But today, in the middle of a scene where her character had to say goodbye to her on-screen mother, something inside her gave way. She remembered her grandmother's voice, the soft words in Spanish, the strength in her old, wrinkled hands. That woman had raised her, believed in her when no one else did. Ana had made it to Hollywood, just like she promised. But now the person she wanted to share it with most was gone. She had collapsed in her trailer and stayed there ever since. But she wasn't alone. Outside, Keanu stayed through the evening. Crew lights were switched off, trucks drove away, and the sound of footsteps grew sparse. Still, he waited. Not for attention, not to be a hero. He didn't even bring his phone. He simply leaned back against the trailer wall, silent. His presence, as steady as the moon rising above, a security guard eventually approached. "Mr. Reeves, sir, you don't have to stay. We'll take care of things." Keanu just gave a tired smile. "It's okay. She's not alone. That's what matters." "Oh." Guard blinked, then walked away. Around midnight, a soft sound came from inside. The lock clicked. The door opened just a little. And there she was, eyes red, hair messy, clutching that same photo. She didn't say anything. He didn't either. They just looked at each other. And in that moment, more was said between them than words could carry. Finally, she whispered, "Why, are you still here?" Keanu stood up slowly, brushing off his jeans. Because no one should face grief alone. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but this time they weren't just from pain. There was something else, relief, gratitude, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, it was okay to not be strong all the time. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking. Keanu stepped closer but kept his distance, offering only his presence. "I lost someone once too, more than once, and I remember the silence. The kind that gets loud when there's no one beside you. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have to hear that silence tonight." She let out a trembling laugh, the first sign of light since morning. "You're a strange man, Keanu Reeves. I've been told worse, he smiled softly. Anna opened the trailer door wider. Do you want to come in? Not to talk, just... I don't want to be alone. Keanu nodded. I'd be honored, and so he stepped inside. No cameras, no spotlight, no fame. Just one human sitting beside another in their darkest moment, offering nothing but presence and quiet understanding. As dawn approached, the trailer light remained on. Two people sat inside, sipping tea made from an old kettle, saying little, and healing a little more with each silent second that passed. Outside, a new day began. But inside that trailer, it was still night. And that was okay, because this time, she wasn't alone in it. Whispers in the dark, the morning sun crept through the thin curtain of Anna's trailer window, casting soft light on the quiet room. The old kettle sat on the counter, empty now. Two mismatched mugs rested nearby, one chipped, one stained with tea. Anna had finally fallen asleep, curled up on the sofa with her head resting on a pillow that Keanu had carefully adjusted beneath her. He didn't sleep. Keanu stayed awake through the night, sitting on the small bench by the trailer wall, arms crossed, gaze distant. His thoughts drifted between memories and worries. He had been in this business long enough to know that people often forgot the human side of it. Fame gave the illusion of strength, but it also isolated. Anna wasn't just a star. She was someone's granddaughter, someone's friend. And last night, she had been someone's grieving soul. As the morning deepened, the outside world began to move again. Trucks rolled in, grips carried gear. Laughter returned to the set, but softer this time, cautious. Word had spread. Keanu stayed all night, someone whispered behind a camera rig. She opened the door for him. Another assistant said, eyes wide. Maya, the intern who had first noticed Keanu's vigil, arrived early again. She carried 2 warm croissants and a fresh cup of coffee for him. When she saw him sitting just outside the trailer, tired but still composed, she offered a small smile. Good morning, sir. Keanu nodded. Thanks, Maya. You okay? She nodded back, unsure how to speak around the lump in her throat. She'd never seen anything like that. Not from a celebrity, not even from people in her own life. You're really kind, she finally whispered. Keanu just sipped the coffee. Just trying to be human. It's not always easy, is it? The trailer door opened gently behind him. Anna stepped out slowly, wrapped in a shawl, her eyes still tired, but calmer. When she saw Maya, she managed a soft smile. Hi. Maya stepped back, unsure if she should say anything. But Anna surprised her with a hug. Thank you for staying, Anna whispered. Maya blinked. I didn't do anything. Anna shook her head. You noticed, and sometimes noticing is everything. Keanu stood up beside them. You ready to go back in? He asked gently, motioning toward the set in the distance. Anna took a deep breath. Maybe, but not as the actress. Not yet. I need a moment as just Anna. Keanu nodded. Then let's take a walk. They walked down a narrow path behind the trailers, away from the crew, from the pressure, from everything. The path led through a small grove of trees planted decades ago when the lot was first built. Birds chirped above. The world, for a moment, was just green leaves and soft earth. Anna walked slowly, her fingers trailing the bark of one tree. Do you ever feel like you're drowning in silence? She asked, without looking at him. Keanu paused. Every day. The louder the world gets, the deeper the silence inside. She looked at him now. How do you survive it? He shrugged. I don't always. But I try. I write. I ride. I sit quietly until the noise fades. And when it doesn't, I just sit anyway. Anna stopped walking. You didn't ask me why I locked the door. You didn't need me to, Keanu said softly. You needed me to wait. She looked down, overwhelmed by his answer. My grandmother was my anchor. She raised me when no one else had time, and now she's gone. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to seem weak. Keanu tilted his head. That wasn't weakness. That was love. Hiding it. That's the weight. Not the pain. Anna took a long breath. I think I was ashamed of breaking down. Keanu's voice was gentle. But you didn't break. You bent. And you let someone be there. That's not weakness. That's grace. They sat on a bench near the edge of the grove. A quiet breeze moved the branches above. For a while, neither of them said a word. Anna closed her eyes and felt the stillness. Keanu leaned back, arms resting on the bench's edge. Then, unexpectedly, Anna began to hum, a soft melody from her childhood. A lullaby her grandmother used to sing when the power would go out in Havana, and they would sit by candlelight. Keanu listened quietly. The sound carried memories, like waves reaching a distant shore. When she stopped, tears shimmered in her eyes, again. I used to believe the world would stop without her. And now it hasn't. And that feels wrong. Keanu looked out into the distance. The world keeps moving, not because it forgets, but because it carries her forward through you. She wiped her cheek. How are you always so calm? I'm not. He smiled slightly. I've just had practice being broken. Those words hung in the air. Anna nodded slowly, understanding something deeper now. Not just about Keanu, but about grief, about healing, about being real in a world that demanded perfection. When they returned to the set, the crew had already prepared a new schedule. The director approached carefully. Anna, we've rearranged things. Take all the time you need. But Anna raised a hand. I'll do the scene. Just give me 15 minutes. The director blinked. Are you sure? She turned to Keanu. Yes, she said. But only if you're there. Not in the scene. Just nearby. Keanu nodded without hesitation. The scene was a quiet one. Her character had just lost her mother. It required depth, honesty, pain. And that day, Anna gave the most raw, powerful performance of her career. She didn't cry in the scripted way. She cried like someone who had lived the moment. Everyone on set was silent afterward. No claps, no cheers. Just a stillness that filled the air like reverence. And in the back corner, leaning against a wall, Keanu watched. Eyes steady. Presence. Firm, as she walked off set, the crew parted for her like waves around a ship. They saw her differently now, not as an actress, but as someone real. And she walked straight to Keanu. Thank you, she whispered. You did it, he replied. No, she said, we did. The letter on the mirror. The morning after the scene, everything felt different on set. People moved with quieter steps. Even the usual buzz from makeup trailers and walkie-talkies was toned down. Not because something was wrong, but because something had shifted. Respect. The quiet kind had taken root. Anna arrived earlier than usual. No sunglasses, no assistant walking in front. Just her, holding a small paper bag with breakfast pastries for the crew. She handed them out with a soft smile, saying, "Thank you to every single person who had helped her through the chaos of the past few days." Then, before anyone noticed, she slipped into Keanu's trailer and left something on the mirror, a folded letter with her handwriting on the front. You helped me find my breath again. Keanu wasn't inside. He had gone for his early ride, motorcycle, as always, taking the winding road behind the hills to clear his mind before work. He didn't know yet that today was the day Anna was going to change everything between them. The letter was more than just a thank you. It was the story she had never told anyone. When Keanu returned and stepped into his trailer, still dusted with wind and quiet from the road, he noticed the paper first. He stood still, reading the message on the front. Then he sat down and unfolded it. Her handwriting was small, neat, but shaky in places. Keanu, I didn't know how to say this out loud. Maybe I still don't. But you need to know. When I was 12, I used to sleep on the floor next to my grandmother's bed because we didn't have enough room. Sometimes I'd wake up cold and scared. She would take my hand and whisper, "El silencio no es soledad, mi niña. Es el alma respirando." Silence is not loneliness, my girl. It's the soul breathing. The night you waited outside my trailer, you reminded me of that. You didn't say much. You didn't force me to speak. You just stayed, like she used to. And in that silence, I remembered who I was. You reminded me that even the strongest people need someone to just sit beside them, especially when they don't ask. Thank you for being still with me. Keanu read the letter twice, then again. And when he folded it back and tucked it safely into his jacket pocket, he didn't say anything, not even to himself. But his eyes were softer, his breathing slower. Something in him had been moved. He stepped out just in time to see Anna rehearsing lines under the tree near the catering truck. Not alone. Maya was beside her, nervously holding the script, her hands shaking. Anna was patient, kind, guiding the young intern word by word. Keanu smiled. She's passing it on, he thought. That's how healing works. Later that day, while filming a scene together, Anna delivered a line that wasn't in the script. They were supposed to argue, and she was to walk away in anger. Instead, she stopped mid-step, turned back, and said softly, "You don't always need to save me. Just be near when I fall." The director froze. The camera kept rolling. Keanu, without blinking, responded, "I don't carry people. I walk beside them. Every time." The moment was unscripted, pure, and more powerful than anything the scriptwriters could have imagined. The director didn't. "Cut," he whispered. "Keep going." Anna's eyes filled with tears, real ones, and Keanu stepped toward her, closer than the scene required. But he didn't touch her. He just stood beside her, exactly like he had that night outside the trailer. When the scene ended, silence again. Then the director clapped slowly. "That's the take," he said, voice hoarse. "We're not topping that." Afterwards, Anna walked away quietly and disappeared behind one of the prop vans. Keanu found her sitting on a crate, looking out over the hills. "You changed the scene," he said. "You changed me," she replied. He sat down beside her, both of them quiet for a long time. "Can I tell you something?" she asked, eyes still focused on the distance. "Anything," he said. "I used to think kindness was a performance, something people did to get applause," she said. "But you're kind when no one's watching." Keanu leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I learned that from the people I lost. They taught me that presence matters more than words, more than fame. Just being there." "Do you miss them?" she asked. "Every day," he whispered. "But I carry them with me, like you carry your grandmother." Anna nodded slowly. I want to be that kind of person, someone who stays even when it's hard." Keanu turned to her. "You already are." Later that night, Anna found Maya sitting alone by the food truck, looking frustrated. She had dropped her phone, and the screen was cracked. Her script notes were gone, and she looked on the verge of tears. Anna sat down beside her and said, "Come with me." She led her to her trailer, handed her a fresh notebook, and began helping her rewrite everything from memory. Line by line, word by word. Even when the girl apologized over and over, Anna just smiled and said, "This is how we grow, not when things go right, but when we fall and someone helps us up." Outside, Keanu watched through the trailer window, smiling, and in that moment, something in him shifted too. For the first time in years, he felt like maybe the weight he carried wasn't only his anymore. Maybe, without knowing it, Anna had helped him too. He pulled the letter from his jacket again and read it once more under the moonlight. Silence isn't loneliness, he thought. It's the soul breathing. And for the first time in a long time, Keanu Reeves exhaled deeply and felt his soul breathe back. The headline they never expected the next morning, everything changed. Keanu's phone buzzed before sunrise. He wasn't one to check headlines early, but the screen lit up with messages from his agent, his assistant, even old friends he hadn't spoken to in months. All of them sent the same link. No context, just a link. He tapped it. Ana de Armas and Keanu Reeves share emotional moment on set. Captured by accident, melts hearts worldwide. Beneath the headline was a blurry photo, taken from behind a fence. Someone must have hidden near the production lot and caught it through the trees. In the picture, Anna was sitting on a bench, eyes closed, leaning ever so slightly toward Keanu. He wasn't touching her, just sitting beside her, calm and steady, looking out at the horizon. It wasn't romantic. It was something deeper. Human. The article didn't speculate. No cheap gossip, no twisted quotes. Instead, it praised their vulnerability, their strength, and the quiet power of presence. It spoke about grief, about friendship, about breaking the mold of Hollywood expectations. How one star waited all night beside a trailer without asking for credit, and how another had opened a part of herself. The world rarely sees. The photo went viral. Fans reposted it with captions like, "This is what real support looks like." Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who sit in silence with you. Not every hero wears a cape. Some just wait outside a door all night. Anna saw the post just minutes after Keanu did. She was still in her trailer, hair in a bun, eyes puffy from sleep, when her phone buzzed nonstop. At first, she panicked. "What did I do?" she muttered. Then she saw the picture, and she broke into tears. Not because it exposed something, not because it went viral, but because, for once, the world had seen her truth, the pain, the healing, the moment of trust. And instead of mocking it, they had embraced it. She called Keanu. He picked up immediately. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" His voice was calm as always. "For the photo, for the story getting out, for—" "Don't apologize," he said gently. "The world seeing kindness isn't a bad thing." She was quiet for a moment. "Do you think they'll twist it? Make it something it's not?" "Some will," he said. "But those who need the message will see it for what it is, and that's enough." On set, the atmosphere had completely changed. People weren't just more polite. They were more present, more real. Crew members shared personal stories over lunch. Actors talked openly about their struggles. Maya, the intern, found 2 grips helping her fix her broken phone screen with care as if she were their little sister. Something had broken loose, something good. And at the center of it, Keanu and Anna stood, not as stars, but as examples of what being human looked like in an industry that so often forgot. During a break that afternoon, the director pulled them aside. "You two okay with the spotlight on this?" he asked, showing them the latest article. "It's everywhere now. Even mainstream media is covering it." Anna nodded. "If it helps someone feel less alone, then—" "Yes," Keanu agreed. "But only if we stay honest. No interviews, no twisting the story into promotion." The director respected that, but he had one more thing to say. "Anna, I spoke to the studio. They want to push your scene, the one from yesterday, as the core moment of the trailer." Anna blinked. "The one I changed?" "Yeah," he smiled. Test audiences cried, real tears. Even the editor said it was the most raw thing he's ever cut. Anna looked to Keanu, then back to the director. "Only if Maya gets credit for—" "Script assist," the director raised a brow, She was holding the script when I shifted the line, Anna said. Without her, I might have stayed silent. He nodded. Done. When the trailer released 2 weeks later, it shattered expectations. I opened not with action or flashy music, but with a quiet, trembling voice saying, "You don't always need to save me. Just be near when I fall." Audiences froze, and then came the response. Millions of views, thousands of heartfelt comments, stories from fans sharing their own grief, their moments of silence, their hopes for someone to just be there. And through it all, Keanu and Anna stayed grounded. They didn't give press tours. They didn't sit for interviews. Instead, they started something unexpected. Anna quietly partnered with a grief support charity in Cuba, using her earnings from the film to fund safe spaces for children who had lost loved ones. Keanu began attending anonymous grief circles in Los Angeles, not as a speaker, but as a listener. Sometimes he brought snacks. Other times he just sat in the back and nodded when someone shared their pain. One night, after another session, he found a note on his motorcycle seat. I was about to give up. Then I saw that photo. "Thank you for reminding me that waiting matters." No name. Just that sentence. He folded it and placed it next to Anna's letter in his jacket pocket. They were never alone again on set. Not because they were famous, but because people now knew they were safe people. People who didn't need to speak to be heard, who didn't run from silence. And somewhere, deep in the quiet corners of Hollywood, that was starting to matter more than any award ever could. The whisper in the crowd, the premiere was only a week away. After everything that had happened, the viral photo, the trailer's emotional impact, and the new spotlight shining on kindness instead of scandal, Anna and Keanu should have felt the usual pressure. But this time it felt different. They weren't just promoting a movie. They were carrying something heavier, something real. And it showed. Days before the red carpet, the studio arranged a private screening for the cast and crew. It was held in a small theater, not a grand one, but quiet, with only enough seats for those who had helped create the film. Anna sat near the front, Keanu beside her. Maya sat 2 rows behind, holding a printed program with her name in it. Script assistant. She kept rereading it, as if afraid it would vanish if she blinked. The lights dimmed. The movie began. For most of it, there was silence. Not the bored kind, but the kind that filled the room with deep attention. When Anna's unscripted scene came, not a single breath could be heard. And when it ended, when Keanu whispered his line and walked away slowly on screen, the screen faded to black. Then came applause, but not the usual forced clapping. This was slow, respectful, grateful. Anna turned to Keanu, eyes glassy. "I was afraid they wouldn't understand." He looked back at her, voice soft. They did. After the screening, everyone gathered in the theater lobby for a quiet reception. There were drinks, soft music, and a few congratulations exchanged. But most people didn't speak about the movie. They spoke about the moments between the scenes, the silences, the way grief had been shown honestly. Not cleaned up, not made pretty. Anna excused herself for a moment and stepped outside for air. Breeze blew softly down the sidewalk. As she stood by the edge of the pavement, trying to steady her breath, a woman approached her. She looked about 50, well-dressed but not flashy, and held a folded note in her hand. "Hi," she said, voice gentle. "I hope I'm not interrupting. I waited until you were alone." Anna offered a small smile. "It's okay." The woman took a deep breath. "My daughter died last year. She was only 17. Anna's smile faded, replaced by a quiet look of understanding. "She loved your work," the woman continued. "But the truth is, I didn't understand what she saw in all this. Not until tonight." She handed Anna the note. Anna opened it slowly. Inside, in soft handwriting, were the words, "I finally saw her pain, because you showed me yours." Anna felt her throat tighten, "Thank you," she whispered. The woman stepped back. "Thank you." When Anna returned inside, Keanu noticed the look on her face immediately. "You okay?" he asked. "A mother came to me," she said quietly. "She saw her daughter in me. She said she understood her pain for the first time." Keanu exhaled. "Then we did something good." Anna nodded. "We did." As the days passed and the premiere approached, interviews and questions started pouring in. The studio begged for media appearances. Journalists wanted exclusives, but Anna and Keanu made a decision. No press junkets, no magazine covers, just one live event, one evening, one red carpet, and even then, they planned something no one expected. They arrived together, not in designer gowns or luxury suits. Anna wore a simple black dress, no glitter, no diamonds. Just one silver bracelet that belonged to her grandmother. Keanu wore a suit he had owned for 7 years. But what made the world pause was not how they looked. It was what they did. Instead of walking straight down the carpet, they stopped for a moment halfway and held hands, not romantically, but in unity. Anna leaned into the microphone a reporter held out and said, "This film is not about us. It's about the people who never get seen, those who grieve quietly, those who break behind closed doors." Keanu added, "If you know someone like that, go wait beside their trailer. Sit on the steps. Don't talk. Don't ask. Just be there." A hush fell over the carpet. Even the cameras paused. And in that moment, something happened that no one expected. A small group of fans near the barricade started whispering softly. One voice rose above the others, trembling but clear. "My mom died last year. I didn't tell anyone." Anna turned toward the sound. The young girl, barely 20, stood shaking, tears rolling down her cheeks. Anna walked over and pulled her into a hug. No security blocked her. No one stopped the cameras. And as the girl cried into Anna's shoulder, Keanu stood beside them just like always. The world watched. The headlines that night weren't about fashion. They weren't about box office projections. They were about humanity. Keanu and Anna turned red carpet into moment of healing. Fans' tears say more than any interview ever could. This is what Hollywood needs to become. But behind the headlines, something more important had started. A movement. Across the world, people began sharing stories online using a new hashtag. Wait with Mate wasn't started by the studio. It wasn't started by the actors. It was started by the people who watched, who felt something shift when they saw 2 actors choose presence over performance. Photos popped up of friends sitting quietly beside each other, videos of nurses holding hands with patients, stories of strangers waiting outside someone's hospital room just so they wouldn't be alone. Keanu and Anna saw it all, but they didn't speak about it. They didn't repost. They didn't make it about them. They simply kept living the message. Anna began showing up at grief support groups without notice. No press, just her and a notebook. She listened. She sometimes cried, sometimes laughed. Always stayed. Keanu did, the same in his own way. Coffee shops, quiet parks, motorcycle rides to meet veterans who'd lost loved ones. Sometimes he just brought food. Sometimes he sat in silence, and as the world began to shift, ever so slightly, towards something kinder, the 2 of them carried that quiet strength forward. Not by shouting, but by whispering, and being willing to stay beside others until their silence spoke too. The night she waited for him, a year passed. The movie had long finished its run in theaters, but its ripple kept spreading. Wait with Me became more than a hashtag. It became a quiet code among strangers. A phrase whispered at hospital beds, mental health centers, even college dorms when someone sat beside a hurting soul and chose not to leave. Keanu and Anna never claimed ownership of the movement. They never did interviews, never sat for documentaries. They just kept showing up in quiet places. But something had changed between them too. Not in the way people expected. They weren't dating. They weren't chasing headlines. They were something much rarer. They had become each other's anchor. And anchors don't drift. One morning, Keanu didn't show up to a small grief circle in Echo Park. He had been there. Every week, always early, always in the back corner. Anna noticed immediately. Not because he had told her he'd be there, but because he always was. She called. No answer. She messaged. Still nothing. He didn't disappear often, but when he did, it usually meant something had cracked. She waited a few hours. Tried again. Still nothing. By sunset, she got in her car and drove straight to his place. She'd only been there once before, months ago, when they had exchanged old books and sat quietly in his garden. But she remembered the way. She remembered everything. When she arrived, his motorcycle was outside. The lights inside were off, the windows still. She knocked once. No answer. She knocked again. Silence. Anna hesitated. Then, without waiting, she sat down on the step, just like he had once done outside her trailer. She folded her jacket beneath her, pulled her knees close, and waited. Minutes passed, then an hour. The street grew darker, colder, but she didn't move, because she understood now. Some doors don't open with words. Some hearts need time, and presence is louder than any question. Finally, after what felt like forever, the front door creaked open. Keanu stepped out, looking tired. His hair was messy, eyes hollow like he hadn't slept in days. He wore a sweatshirt too big for him and held a mug of cold tea. When he saw her on the steps, he blinked slowly. "Anna?" She looked up softly. "You didn't come." He didn't speak right away. Then, "I couldn't." "Why?" He stepped out onto the porch and sat beside her. For a long while he didn't answer. Then, voice quiet, he said, "Yesterday was the anniversary. My sister. Leukemia. It's been years. But some days it comes back like it never left." Anna didn't flinch. She just reached out and touched his arm. "I thought I could handle it," he whispered. "But yesterday, I couldn't move. Today, I still couldn't." Anna nodded. "I didn't come to talk. I came to wait." Keanu turned to her. "You remembered?" "Every second," she said, "because you taught me what silence means." A tear rolled down his cheek, and he didn't brush it away. "I'm tired," he admitted. Anna leaned gently against his shoulder. "Then rest." "I'll stay." They sat like that for a long time. No need for explanations, no rush to heal, just breathing. Together. That night, Anna didn't leave. She stayed until sunrise. She made tea. She sat by the window as Keanu slept on the couch. When he stirred awake, he saw her reading one of his old books. He smiled. "You stayed?" "Of course," she said. Months later, the grief charity Anna had started in Cuba opened a new building. Painted in soft colors, filled with music, books, and quiet corners for kids to just be. It was named La Casa del Alma, the House of the Soul. Keanu flew in secretly to attend the opening. No cameras, no press. He just walked in wearing a plain shirt and jeans and hugged Anna as tears ran down her face. She whispered, "I used your sister's name for the library room." He stepped back, stunned, then hugged her again. Later, they sat with the children under the big mango tree behind the house. A girl climbed into Keanu's lap. A boy curled beside Anna. And for the first time in years, both actors looked like something they hadn't shown on screen. Peaceful. Years passed. The movement never faded. Man in Japan left a stool beside a river with a note. For anyone who needs someone to wait with them. A nurse in Italy started placing a second chair in ICU rooms with the same words written in different languages. And one night, at a quiet award ceremony for humanitarian work, Anna and Keanu were called on stage together. They didn't speak much, just one line from Keanu. He looked out over the audience and said, You don't need a script to be human. You just need to stay. And that was it. No standing ovation. Just silence, the kind that breathes. Anna kept the photo from that first viral article in her journal. Keanu kept her letter in his coat pocket, folded so many times the edges had worn. Soft. They never needed fame to feel full. They had something stronger, something that didn't fade. Presence. Truth. The quiet kind of love that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. And in a world full of noise, they became proof that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is wait.